Welcome, everybody, to another episode of this podcast. And today we have as our guest Michelle, the CEO of Pétanque NXT. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, Stefan. Great. All good on this side. And by you?
Good. All good here. Today is an interesting episode because we're going to talk about the business X-ray. And this is a product that you have developed with your company. But for people that don't know you yet, Michelle, give us a little bit of a background. Who are you? What is Pétanque NXT? What do you do?
Thank you, Stefan. To start by the latter part, what we do is we assist companies to make change stick. And by that we mean is that change is all around. And what does change mean? It could mean scaling up, might mean scaling down, it might mean integrating with after a merger and acquisition. It could even mean looking at bringing in Web3 technology. Or maybe you thought this is the time for us to go the automation route. We've had clients saying, we think blockchain is going to solve some problems for us. Let's start with that change journey. So change is really anything that makes things different from what it is today. Just last week, we had a request for to assist a customer or a client with doing a projection of the staff that they are going to need because they are scaling up quite a bit. And then that's change. So you do this the staff requirement and then establish why do you need people? What is the purpose of them being part of a process? And that's the important part that we focus on. We look at the processes that makes the change come about. So first, what makes the business work at the moment? And then what needs to change to make it work differently with that change? So therefore, our focus is firstly on what processes needs to make this change happen. And the rhythm that we usually follow is that you look at what is the strategy? Why are you doing this? Then planning it through process change. And then the final part, which is in the more intense part, because that takes longer, is the actual implementation of that change. So some of our clients just need the plan. Other clients need the physical unpacking of the processes. And other clients need the implementation. So any one of those three or all three is the space that we play in. So Pétanque, we are in our 22nd year of existence. We started in South Africa, in Cape Town, and we expanded to the Netherlands in 2020. Actually, in 2019 already. We established the company, but we all know what happened in between. And so I'm representing the company here in the Netherlands and just loving it. And for myself, I trained as a lawyer initially and then veered off into economics because I thought that economics is going to help save the world better so than being a lawyer. And with all due respect to my legal friends, saw more opportunity specifically in assisting businesses to survive and to grow. So our focus is on the global SDGs, specifically to reduce poverty. And businesses that operate and run well employ people, create opportunities. There's a velocity of money that goes around. And all of those things are necessary to address poverty. And the more successful businesses can be, the more people can be employed, the more people can have salaries, kids can go to school, cars can drive, electric cars can be developed, animals can be fed, and generally the life should be improved. So our focus is always looking at supporting clients to ethically improve what they do. And what is wonderful with the big focus on ESG in these days, the ethical around the governance, and then the E and the S elements inclusive in all of that, with the environmental and social focus also, that improving your business processes is not just about generating more of something or saving costs. There's always this ecosystem in which it must happen. So yeah, that's hopefully an
Very, very
introduction.
good and very interesting. The purpose that you mentioned of the company, I really like that. I think that it's very important for anybody that is running a business to understand that you have to have that kind of a purpose to actually do something with an impact, right? Now, Michelle, you've been running this for quite a few years now. How have you seen it changing and evolving in terms of change? Because I mean, businesses that have been around for a long time, they needed to change all the time with everything that is happening. Like, especially with COVID happened, a lot of change there as well. But how has it changed actually over the years? Do you see now a bigger need for this than it used to be, or is it evolving? How is it evolving?
Stefan, the biggest change I would say that has happened is that due to digitization, the speed of business has increased quite significantly. And that means that the speed of
Mm,
change is high, uh, which says that unless you are part of that change wave, you could go the high road, the middle road, or the low road. Your competitors are going to knock you out. The second part for me is because of that velocity, there's a lot more people doing the same what you're doing. Therefore, there's also an aspect of competition and 20 years ago, I think, has been replaced by a
mm,
sense of collaboration. So even though you don't want to stay behind your competitors, they might have now become your collaborators, but they would be at a level maybe higher than what you are or lower than what you are. So those are the two things I think that's really stands out for me. How business is run, it's still you've got to make a profit. It is still you've got to sell to somebody. Perhaps the third thing is a very educated consumer, or if you're in B2B, you've got to know your stuff. You're not going to prescribe to people. In 20 years ago, you said, here is something, buy it. Now it's very different and say, what do you need? How can we help you? How can we help you to fulfill whatever the requirement is that you have? So I think those are the aspects that I've seen changing. What has not changed, as I said, is businesses still need to be profitable. What has not changed is businesses run by processes. No matter how many and how much of digitization you've involved in your business, and there's still people in there. So business still runs on people, processes, and technology. And of course, it's not even worth a long chat is to say technology has changed significantly. And with the big change that came about was, of course, the pandemic, because it forced a whole bunch of things that were sort of hanging in the background. It was waiting for a place to happen. So, with that, I think being in business today, it's not as easy as it was many years ago, because of the number of collaborators. Many, many, many small businesses had popped up, and all of those small businesses do want to make a success. And then you still have the larger corporates. And what is really good to see is that the corporates are bringing in the small businesses into supply chains, especially on a diversity side. I know of diversified organizations that started as a one or a two person business, got pulled into the supply chains of the organizations. And it's a great story what eventually happens with them going global and supplying very large organizations. So to summarize, process still is the key element in your business. People is an important aspect, and then the technology that you deploy. It could give you just that sort of higher road edge for you to compete or slash collaborate in the current way of
yeah,
doing business.
yeah. The basics didn't change that much. But what we do see is indeed the velocity, is the speed where everything is evolving, especially now also if you see the AI and what everybody is doing with AI. But I think, and this is then related to the actual subject of this episode, the business X-ray. I can imagine that a lot of these businesses that are growing, that are evolving very rapidly, it's not easy to keep up with what's happening within the business, what's happening with the processes. Everything changes, then they have to be very reactive at times. So I'm guessing, well, I've seen it actually. So I've seen it happening in businesses that they do a lot of stuff, but at a certain point, they're stuck because they don't have the overview anymore, because they have been doing all of these things so quickly and they might be successful, but they're stuck because they don't have the overview anymore. And I guess that's where something like the business X-ray can really help. It's a product that you develop. Can you explain a little bit how that really would work for businesses that are in that kind of situation?
It actually started probably, I would say, around about 2010 when we had a client in the, it's quite a big client, international client in the steel industry. And they needed to really bring a whole range of elements into one focus area and deliver quite a steep set of performance elements against that. Um, and as a strategy designer, I was sitting in the room and thinking, oh, there are so many aspects here. How would they
Yeah.
know what to do first? How are we going to say this is where your greatest pain point is? Let's address it. So I basically got up in those days. We still had those flip boards, and you get up and make a black pen, and I then put three of these pages next to one another with some sticky stuff on the wall. And as the clients were talking, there were four of them giving me information. I started seeing, well, there's a great value stream that they offer. So there's first they do this, and then that, and then that, and then that, and then every time they went in too much detail, I said, no, stop, stop. Give me the high level activities first. So we came up with 6 high level activities. And those high level activities is we have to understand what is going on. We have to have a sense of, of the systems and the eco that we're working within. From that, we need to react and do something. And in that reaction, there's several steps that follow. You've got to produce what's necessary, then you've got to test it, and then you've got to, once it's been tested, do the adjustments, then package it, then market and sell, and then move forward. And if I say move forward, is the biggest part is the delivery of the product, and how do you maintain your customer satisfaction in that. So it's all about the reason why you're in business. So that was the high level, and then I asked him, so what are the processes that will make these activities happen? And then we went fast, fast, fast. Oh, this happens there, this happens. And they would mention these processes, and I would then say, okay, that belongs to that activity, and this belongs. And what we came up then is what we called, at that stage, a positioning map. And it basically positioned what happens where. And in due course, we changed it to the business X-ray because it is such a good, incisive look into what happens in the business, where are the pain points, and what should we address first. So I think if I could share with you what I'm talking about. So this is the business X-ray now in its 2024 format. And it has actually served so many clients in the last 12 years that we've developed this. But let me start at the beginning. And please ignore all of these icons. You will see how they work in a minute. looks a little bit messy, but this is what happens. The discussion starts quite messy, and then it gets to something quite neat. So first of all, you need to understand when you're looking at change, is that change because of a goal that you need to achieve, or is the goal a change in itself? So you need to write down, what is the goal of, why are we looking at all of this? So let's say your goal is to use a good example of a current project, is to ensure that as the company grows, so the company's at a quite a growth trajectory, and it needs to make sure that its current processes can support the growth. So the business goal is that they are going to revenue X, and they want a profit of 16%. So that's a goal. So what does good look like? In other words, what is the result that we want? It's basically they want to have that revenue at 16%, but what good looks like is that the entire business is able to sustain that growth. So what good looks like is potentially going to say processes, people, and tech scaled. Come on. So now we know what the values or the performance indicators are. These lists that we have is then tasks that people need to go and do. And as we unpack this process, that's what they're going to do. So coming back then to, if that's what I want to do, and this is what must happen, then what are the activities, as I described before, that you need to do to make that happen? So what are the main value stream elements of your business? And each of those value streams must have some sort of an output, a result. And these results must contribute to both what good looks like and that goal that you have there. So let's say that in understanding the market, you know what does the market need that we can provide, and what is the revenue potential of that. And if we had to just have give to the market what we currently have, are we actually potentially going to achieve that result? Perhaps, we don't know. So for each one of these aspects, you look at what is the result or the KPI that each of these activities must have, because these KPIs add up to eventually that strategy or that goal. Then the next portion that you say is which processes support each one of these elements. So if your process is research, then that must deliver this result. If the process here is R&D, then that must deliver the result for establishing a new product or whatever the case might be. And so you list these little blocks and give them names. And then this is where the interesting part starts, where you say, okay, which of these processes at the moment or these results are not giving us what we want? Let's say this result is we must achieve planned profit per quarter. And if we're not achieving that planned profit per quarter already now, we know this is a place of, it's a burning point or a burning issue. We might also say over here that we really take too long to get products to market. So if we want to pivot and make sure that the market gets what we can offer them, then we've got to make that happen first. Okay, so if that and that is my burning point, then which are my processes that's making that be a burning point? So there's a process that's probably not good, and maybe my marketing is not all that good, because when it comes to the sales side, my qualified leads are not great, therefore I'm not achieving the sales that I want. Okay, but let's assume we can address these two things, and we could, we'll talk about addressing them in a minute. But let's say we can take these burning points away. What about delivery? Is there anything? No, we deliver great. Currently, it is what do you call it? Statements, service level agreements, and let me say, our customer score must be 90%. That's what we want. If we're scaling, we're currently doing great on it, but that could be a risk in the future. So we could risk this result. So which are the processes that could be the ones that are at risk? Maybe our inventory might not be good enough or high enough, or because our manufacturing is not quite on par. It's not a problem yet, but it could be a risk. With that, you immediately see where in the business are the areas that could stop your change happening in order for you to get to the results that you want to achieve. And now we can start discussing it and say, well, what can we do at R&D that could assist us? Well, why don't we start using AI? And in marketing, why don't we add a whole bunch of automation into it through some sort of a CRM system? And these two being at risk, we wonder if we should start looking at maybe putting some smart contracts in place here that would improve the reach that we have with suppliers. And potentially we could also add some automation over there. And gosh, something we hadn't thought about is privacy. Are we pretty sure that our privacy is in order? Where are we going to put it? We're going to put it over here. That's staff. So it's HR. Somebody said to me the other day, don't talk about HR, it's people stuff. So on our people side, do we have the correct privacy for our internal teams, but also for our clients? By the supply chain, maybe we should also make sure that we are good on the privacy side there. And immediately you can now see what are the areas to look at. Our monitoring and reporting is pretty good. Our performance management it's okay. But again, if we could automate a whole bunch of our data, and there's a lot of data that happens in the business, then over here our performance management could be done much faster. And let's say the company is quite keen on ESG. Where would we add more governance? Maybe over here. Where would we add more environmental stuff? In our supply chain, maybe in our manufacturing, be more sustainable there. And then in appointing people, can we be more diversified over there? So there you go. And literally in 90 minutes, we come up with this, which is then a great insight of what happens in your business. Now, if you want to understand what is the change that needs to take place, then you would switch to, if you had to click into this, and we can talk about that in a while, if you had to click in this, then there's a full process that unpacks. And there you come up with exactly what happens where, which people are influenced, what technology are you bringing in or replacing, and what steps in the process are you able to maybe combine because you've now got automation or you're using AI to do certain steps. So this business X-ray is nothing other than a discovery tool to say, this is what I want to change. And once you've decided to start going with the change, it then is a tracking tool to say, okay, guys, this is now sorted. It's no longer a burning point. We're achieving our results that we want. We've added a lot of automation over here. And so this issue is now resolved. So it also says to you, it will help you with your reporting and say, this is what we did, and let's see how it is impacting that to in turn impact over there.
Really powerful, really powerful. And I think if people seeing this, I think they can understand that because you just have like one view, right? It's just a one pager of whatever is happening within your business. And I think that's very powerful. So you don't need to have like a full range of processes mapped out everywhere in detail just to understand like where are the risks, where are these kind of burning points. I think this can be very impactful for a lot of businesses. Now, Michelle, you've done this already so many times. Can you give us a couple of examples how this has impacted one of your previous customers and what they get out of that?
I would say one of the most recent ones is the client, who is a very succinct CEO, said to me, "We are really focused on what to do." So they're focused on which areas are working well and maintaining that, and those areas that needs the change. Certain people are focused on, because now what you also do in that, you can go and assign accountabilities to each of those. So if you then put that into some form of a tracker, then you can immediately see if a person hadn't done what they should do, what is the impact on the entire business. So it brings about a great sense of clarity, on focus, and in one particular case, we unpacked the sales process and really on a weekly basis checked in for 90 days. Checked in pretty much like a scrum. Where are we with this process? What is happening? Did everybody who's accountable for a piece do their part? And that resulted in, it was something like a 48% increase in sales. A fantastic sales team, but it was just about getting that focus into what they were doing. With another client, just having this as an onboarding within their induction, especially with a senior team. It basically says to the new incumbent exactly where he or she fits in and what the expectation is of what they need to do. So if a person had just started out and let's say they're the operating officer of the organization, that person needs to understand, what am I operating and where are my pain points? And if it's A and B and C, then immediately they can focus on that and bring the value, as opposed to trying to figure out where things are and spending the first 100 days in understanding the business. So it's about clarity, it's about focus, it is about being able to assign accountability to specific parts of the business, to specific people. I think for me the biggest impact is the quick view of how are we going to achieve what needs to be achieved. If you want more examples of the impact of this, it has also assisted a client to go to a funder and say, this is why and where I need funding for blockchain to be included in the business. So it's a good way also of presenting your business to investment opportunities and saying, I'm here at the moment, this is what my business looks like. With your money, I'm going to look here and here and here, and we're going to therefore achieve the goals that we're setting out. So even for an investor, it's then a good indication of where am I putting my money in. And I would also say, just in terms of what I see quite often is with AI and automation, it's kind of difficult to know what should I automate. Automation is such a big concept and wide application. Again, and automation is not cheap. So where do I focus my automation to give me the returns so that I can automate other things as well? So how do I let my automation give me a return on investment? And simply by using this again, and we then do calculations. And sometimes we just do the calculation right in that workshop and say, this is the cost of the software. This is the benefits it's going to render. And with a recent client, we actually came about that by replacing a whole part of manual work, they would have a return on investment within the first 14 months. And that suited their appetite because they were looking at an ROI at 18 months. So we could figure that out as well. So those are all examples of how this could really give you a good insight. And it comes back to my earlier statements of we don't have weeks anymore to do strategy and figure out what needs to be done. We need to do it quickly. This is like a very quick one half a morning, and it's actually quite easy to do if you just understand how to ask the questions. So the template is the result that you want to achieve, and through conversations you come up with what needs to be done, and those tasks then get listed. So what I did with a project last week, it was really nice because the client said they want to tackle 7 major processes this year as part of their scaling into new markets. And as we came up with the processes, they felt that they needed to do life cycles as well. So what is my customer life cycle, for instance? So what you do is at the top, you then put what is my customer life cycle, and it goes down into each of those activities, and then you choose which of those process parts forms part of the customer life cycle. So I hope that gives you an indication of some of
Absolutely,
the benefits.
absolutely. And thinking about all these examples, I think many business owners, if they want to get something like this very quickly, and this is the thing, right? This is the business X-ray in just 90 minutes, getting something like this drawn out with the right kind of conversations, that's hugely valuable. As you said, like you don't need to wait 3 or 4 months to do a full analysis with which costs a lot of money. And at the end you have something. But then what? So if you can do that in 9 minutes, that's super powerful. Now, Michelle, for anybody that is listening or watching this podcast and they want to step into the business X-ray, they want to do this process. uh, what is the first step? Where should they go?
I'm sure we can put my email address
Absolutely.
somewhere or our website. Connect with us. We can do this in 2 manners. We do it with you, or we do it for you. And then there's the third manner is we train you to do it yourself. So depending on which one you need, if you have a smaller business, then this is not your main job. Then it's better to do it with you, and we design it together. If we do it for you, it's quite close to the with you, but you basically send us lots of information, and we put together what we can, and then we do a quick playback. It's not as effective. The efficiency comes in that conversation that happens. And one other thing I didn't mention was it's the learning, because somebody might have only been part of, let's say, the supply chain part. Now they can see all of the other parts that's part of the business, and that's one of the powerful things that happens. Is quite often people say, you know what, I never knew that's the part that you do, and if you did that just slightly different, then I'm going to do less on this end. So that's another part that happens. Back to how to do this. And if you'd like us to train you to do that, basically it will be a session like right now, just a conversation, and a person would know what the end result should look like. And then we would work with you in 1 or 2 sessions to do this. The platform that we use, or the software that we use, is Microsoft Visio. So a person would need a Visio license, and we then basically license you to do this. So part of the licensing is then a training session, which is usually over 3 sessions, so that you just get comfortable with the questions to ask, how to record, and in front of an audience, how to move this. If you're the only person in a business, then obviously it's going to be easy. As we do the work with you, then you'll know what to do in the future. So it's as simple as that. So I would love to share this with people who even like to use that as a tool in their businesses. to quickly get to an assessment. So let's say you provide a specific software, and you would like to show to clients, once I bought that software, where is it going to impact? And by unpacking it this way, you then say over there and over there, this is where we're going to install it, and this is the results that you
So there's a
could
lot of
expect.
use cases, right, for the business X-ray, from small projects to big projects, which involves a lot of processes. But also, like you said, if you want to implement a software, a new tool, what happens, right? That's useful as well. And with Titanify, we do a lot of business automations for our customers and really getting into the weeds and setting up all the tools and so on for the customers. But this tool will help us a lot as well. That's why we also decided to work with you, right, Michelle, to create a collaboration with the two of us. And we're also offering that kind of workshop around the business X-ray through Titanify. So anybody that has an interest in this, they can also go to our website and they can find it there. And yeah, let us know if you're interested, and we will come back to you as soon as possible. Now, Michelle, this was really, really valuable. Thank you so much for explaining all of this around the business X-ray, what people can do with this. But there's so much more to discover about what you do and about Pétanque NXT. So we will have you back in another episode to go a little bit deeper in all of this for sure. Michelle, thank you so much for your time today. Um,
Thank you.
let's.
I appreciate the opportunity, Stefan. Sorry to interrupt. And I love this stuff. I know you do too. So it's good to have this
Absolutely,
conversation.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, for listening. Keep following us. There's more to come. Until next time. Bye bye.